Open up the door, it's Dave!
Who?
Dave! D-A-V-E!
Dave?
Right, man, Dave.
Dave's not here!
One of the problems with park assist is the way the cameras are oriented, especially in the front of the car, because they really can't see down to this front bumper here, to this edge, to see what's going on. So you have like this space here, and there's a large space between where the car is and where the edge of the curb is. And the car told me to stop at that spot because it saw that the curb was there. What's the reason for that? Well, that has everything to do with the placement of the cameras on the top of the car. The cameras are right there. There are actually 3 cameras facing right there that face down the front of the car and look out. The 3 cameras actually look 3 different directions. One is a sort of a narrow wide-angle band, one is a straight forward-facing band, and one is a very wide-angle band, so you get a lot of view around the car. But since you can't see down to the edge of the car, that's kind of a problem. Now, I understand that in hardware version 4, which this car does not have, I have hardware 3, there are actually only 2 cameras. They eliminated one of the wide-angle cameras. I'm not sure which one exactly, but they eliminated one of them. I think the other one does both functions is what it amounts to. But there's actually only 2 cameras. And in hardware 3, there were 3 cameras, and they serve the same purpose. But the idea is to look at the front of the car. Now, in other models of the car, and many other cars that you'll see around, there's a sensor in the front of the car. This car has no sensors and no ability to detect what's around it. Tesla is moving 100% to the idea of video to look at park assist and around the car to understand where you are. And that's all fine and good unless you consider the fact that you can't see something like this. So if we look in the Tesla manual, we see how the cameras actually form the bird's eye view. It shows you where the location of the cameras are, which we already know for the most part, but it gives you a sense of how they all come together. It doesn't solve the problem of how they work together and how the computer gives you a visualization in the front of the car, but at least it gives you a sense of how it works. Now, if we go back to the chart that I showed before, where we look at the actual views from around the car, this gives you a better sense of how those cameras integrate together to give you a view that you can see within the dashboard and how the computer sees it. And so if I draw a line from where the cameras are down to where it would see, you can see the hood of the car is in the way, and that's kind of the problem. So it really can't see what's there. Now, it can do some interpretation while you're driving to pick up images and then reuse them and decide what's there. But the challenge is it can't actually see there. So if I put my phone up by where the cameras are and look down, you can see it from this angle and what it looks like. But you can see where the problem is here, right? Because you can't see to the front of the car that there's this gap in front. So that's the challenge. Now, you'll notice when I was in the car, it said stop, even though I was in this location. Now, I've been seeing some traffic, if you will, about some of the older model Teslas having their sensors disabled on the car. If you actually go in for service at some points, some people have reported on some of the forums that when they went in for service, Tesla actually removed physically the sensors that were around the car and said they're no longer needed because, you know, they actually provide leakage areas into the car and this and that and the other thing, and are actually physically removing them and putting a patch over that spot so that it actually looks like the sensor's still there, but it's not there. Now, I read one forum post where someone said they questioned Tesla about that, and Tesla said, well, it doesn't really matter. We're going to be disabling the sensors in a future software release anyway, a very near one, and switching to the cameras for all the cars, regardless of when they were made. Which is a little concerning because obviously Park Assist doesn't work quite right at this point. There's still some gaps in Park Assist, like I mentioned, and it's a problem all the way around, and I wish Tesla would have fixed that first before they started disabling or not installing sensors in cars, because this is problematic. When you park the car, you want to know that you're close to something. You don't want it to be near something. You want to actually have a good indication of what's there. And with the sensors, you get a very good indication of what's around you because the sensors are here on the car rather than a camera being up here. So it's a problem for the whole system, the whole ecosystem, and I really wish Tesla would kind of think this through. So let's try this like this. With the camera pointing this way, let's see what we can see as far as the curb and everything goes. So when I'm driving, notice it's still loading the Park Assist, so that'll take a moment for it to come on. So if I can see the curb from here, which I can, then theoretically Park Assist can see it from here as well. So let's just give it a minute to load. Okay, it says it's downgraded, and the reason it's downgraded is because the sun is coming in through the windshield here, so it doesn't see the same way. Now, in theory, it should see the curb up there, right? So I should, when I pull in, it should recognize where the curb is and start to give me an indicator on the screen that the curb is there. Now I can see where the curb is. I can't see it anymore. I could for a second, now I can't see it anymore. So if I hold the camera all the way up, I can still see the curb a little bit. And so Tesla is telling me where it is. The Tesla is telling me, that's telling me there's a car next to me, which I expect. Now let's see if it can actually see the curb. Okay, it says I have 22 inches to it, 19, which may be right based on where it is. Let's see what happens here. I'm gonna pull up a little further. Okay, it's telling me I'm within a tolerance there. Now what can I see from here? Well, I can't actually see it, so let's get out and have a look. And again, you can see it told me to stop much too far up, right? That's the problem. But the problem doesn't just exist with the front camera. It's sort of the whole park assist system. When I look around the car and I see how it works, the cameras are a little funky sometimes. They do pick up things that aren't there and don't pick up some things that are there. So for example, I'm backing my car into my driveway, and I know that on the right side of my car is my wife's car. So I get that there's a line down that side. But the front left corner doesn't make sense to me. There is no object there. So it's kind of weird that it's picking up something, and what it's picking up is the connection between my driveway and the sidewalk, which I get, but it's not really relevant. So it's kind of an interesting problem. So I back out and I try it again, and it picks it up again, and this time it actually starts to pick up the edge of the driveway as well, to a point. And that's kind of an interesting thing that it's doing that I can't quite figure it out. Now it is getting better. It was worse than this when it first started. It's actually working pretty well right now, by comparison. So it is actually kind of working. So I just wanted to show you kind of how this works when you look at different perspectives as you pull in and out of different spaces, how that actually works. And you can see the car next to me popped up for one moment and then disappeared and then came back and disappeared. So it's close, but it's not quite right. It's really, really good, but it's not great. So that's the next challenge with this, is that it doesn't work exactly like you would expect it to, and not as well as the sensors do around the cars. And by the way, one other little detail, when I was parked in my garage the other day, I noticed that it showed me there were 2 box trucks parked next to me. I'm in my garage. There are no box trucks in my garage. In fact, this is what it looks like. But it picked up enough objects around it to say that there were things around it. Now, it could turn out that the cameras are a better solution than the sensors ever were. That's certainly a possibility, but at this point, they're not. And I really wish they'd kind of get it ready to productionalize and put into cars before they just start doing something like this. It's a little concerning that they just go out there and make a change without really having a solution in place. Now, also, Tesla is really good about collecting data and improving the software. I would say over the course of the month or so since I had the software turned on, the Park Assist turned on in my car, it's gotten better. It's arguably better than it was before. And no question, that is absolutely helpful in so many ways, but it doesn't solve the problem. Yeah, maybe you noticed that the font size changed on the screen, and that's because Tesla added a new feature that slightly older or more mature people may actually enjoy, and that's larger fonts on the screen. And thank you, Tesla, that's actually kind of helpful to me.
What's your point, David?